now we're heading down the avenue of the opera that the architects... It's unfortunately only visible if you go on foot. The pyramid, and right behind you can see a view again of the Eiffel Tower to your right after the but the earliest universities date from the late 1100s, but they didn't have a building. They just gave class. The professors would give class from the windows, and the students would sit on bales of hay on the street. They didn't have a building, and then they started building structures to house the universities. And Alexandra, now you can attend university anywhere in the world, but back then it was only men. Why? Because the woman was not as important, and she wasn't considered with. That's why? Yes, because it's only recent. So listen, I'll answer your question, but we're driving around the Pantheon. This is the Pantheon. We'll be driving around it. It was built in the 1700s. It was the King Louis XV, and he was very sick, and he prayed to Saint Genevieve, the patron saint of Paris, one of them. And he said, if you let me survive this illness, I will build a church in your name. And he survived, and so he built this. It was called the Church of Saint Genevieve until the Revolution, when all churches were deconsecrated and they were used to store weapons or books. And in the early 1800s, under Napoleon, it became a pantheon, which is the resting place of great figures in history, right? Very important men and women. But in the pantheon, up until 20 years ago, there were only men. Because the women, the early 1800s, under Napoleon, it became a pantheon, which is the resting place of great figures in history, right? Very important men and women. But in the pantheon, up until 20 years ago, there were only men. Because the women, they didn't go to university, they didn't do, according to people, they didn't do much. Now there are 5 women in the Pantheon. Marie Curie, who was the famous scientist, originally Polish, who discovered radiation. She won 2 Nobel Prizes in physics and in chemistry. There is Simone Weil. She was a French politician, survivor of the Holocaust. And the last woman, the latest woman, won't be the last, the most recent woman to enter the Pantheon is a woman called Josephine Baker. Have you heard of Josephine Baker?
Yeah. Is she a writer?
Who was born in the US. She was a black American woman. And she came to France and she became a darling of the cabaret scene. She sang and she danced. But then she worked with the resistance, the Résistance, who during World War II fought against the Nazis. So she's the latest woman to enter the Pantheon. So Alexandra, maybe one day you'd have to become French. If you come to Sorbonne, you become French.
You never know. Yeah, you can protect your TikTok. Yeah.
Who was assassinated. Henry IV assassinated, and so after he died, very conveniently across from the Louvre, which you can see on your right. So long. Much of the buildings in this neighborhood built for the 1900 World Fair. So for people traveling into the city, they would arrive here. It also had a hotel, a luxury hotel with a big ballroom. You would be in the heart of Paris. the statue that you can see on your right in front of the bridge is not a French politician, but an American one. That's Thomas Jefferson. He was an American president who came to France to ask, well, he was ambassador to France, but he also asked for help for the American Revolution. And the building across the way now is the Orangerie. The Orangerie is where they stored, historically, where they stored orange trees, lemon trees, all the citrus fruit trees that couldn't survive the winter outdoors. So they'd store them in what was a big greenhouse. Again, the National Assembly on your left. Do you recognize the building on your right up ahead?
Yes, it's the tomb, the glass.
The Grand Palais. And to your right, you can see a nice view of the bridge as well.
We are...
Ate, picture na ako doon. Ate, dito ka ate. Ano ba tayo? There, there!
See
Romeo!
We are